Hello, greetings from Lisbon. I'm Duarte Araújo, and with Pedro Passos, we have been sharing with you 8 episodes of the webcast Ecological Dynamics of Skill, with this first series focusing on sport. In these 9 episodes, we highlight a relevant feature of ecological dynamics, which is the understanding of human behavior as a complex system, meaning that physics, biology, psychology, sociology, and pedagogy all should come together in understanding human behavior and its changes. This is precisely the message Professor Natàlia Balagué from the University of Barcelona has been advocating for more than 20 years. In fact, she idealized an International Congress of Complex Systems in Sport for September 2001, but it was cancelled due to the Twin Towers attack. However, she persisted, and in 2003, the first International Congress of Complex Systems in Sport, which was joined by the 4th edition of the International Conference of Computer Science in Sport, was held in the INEF Barcelona. This was a very rich congress with speakers from many different backgrounds, from astrophysics to biology to computer sciences to sport sciences, discussing common sport-related topics. It was during this time of embedding complex systems ideas into the beauty of Barcelona city when I first met Natàlia Balagué, and we have been since then sharing ideas and collaborations. In fact, with her support, I was privileged to organize the 2nd edition of the International Congress of Complex Systems in Sport in 2008 in Funchal, Madeira, joined by the 10th European Workshop on Ecological Psychology. Thank you, Natàlia. It's really a pleasure to have you with us. And I would like to start by asking you, how do you understand sport behavior given your background and focus on physiology? Or in other words, how do you move from physiology to behavior when studying sport performance?
Well, nice question. And I found in sport behavior a much more rich and theoretical background than the background I had in physiology. And I think that nowadays this continues like this because there is a problem. This fragmentation of disciplines in sports science is not contributing much to a better understanding of the sport-related phenomenon. So I found really a much better theory simply I was attracted by this. And then I forgot about that I was a physiologist, and I just moved into sport behavior in these theories, complex systems theories, to better understand human behavior, and not just this, I mean, to transfer it also to physiology. And this is a bit now what I am trying to do. So to break all these barriers among disciplines that are not improving our understanding of the phenomenon. So I think that now physiology should be enriched by all these theories that come from other disciplines, or not coming from other disciplines, simply other disciplines have more trajectory using it, and then implement it also in physiology to understand better problems related with health, with performance, and also to contribute to basic physiology. I think that exercise physiology might contribute very much to basic physiology. And okay, so this is, I think, the future. So doing some steps towards a future where this can be, those phenomena better understood. And I mean phenomena related to sport performance, or exercise as medicine.
I think Natàlia is with some internet connections.
Yeah.
But this is a main interesting issue that I would like to ask her when she came back. But now I can ask you, why do you think this happens? Because
should be
I think that Natàlia is back. Hi, Natàlia, you get frozen again, but don't worry, we keep chatting. No worries.
No worries at all.
I have a question.
Before the question from Pedro, which
okay.
I know it is a very nice one, but I would like you to explain a little bit. So, given what you just said, what do you mean by network physiology? How do you see it in sports? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. So physiology, as you probably know, is the discipline that influences sports science very much. And at the same time, this physiology is the only branch in the biology focused on synthesis and integration. Although it has been evolving due to this influence of reductionism, it has been evolving into fragmenting pieces of the body in smaller and smaller pieces and going towards biochemistry, cellular biology, molecular biology, genetics. So trying to find explanations in smaller and smaller parts, so this micro level. And then trying to explain performance, for instance, from these micro levels. So probably you know this research where the effects of molecules, let's say, for instance, acid lactic, explain performance. So this is something commonly done in this research, but it's forgetting that we make here a very big jump. So this bottom-up causality relation, and that I mean, many coaches, for instance, are not following because they obviously see that we deal with much more complex problem. So instead of fragmenting complex problems, the proposal is really to deal it with as a whole. And then this network view allows or may change the assumptions in order to study the physiology during exercise as a network, with network and complex systems principles. So this is the reason why moving toward network physiology of exercise, why this branch has emerged.
Yeah, very nice and interesting. It really complements what you just said before in a very operational and theoretical rich way. But Pedro, can you follow with your question?
Yeah, it was my last question, but so I will start with my last question to Natàlia because she began with a very interesting issue, which is why you organized the ECSS a few years ago in Barcelona, which I had a pleasure to be there. On that time, on that edition, you tried to bring the complex systems to the ECSS, but then the ECSS move again to another direction, and the complex systems remains as a very small relevant area within the complex system, within the European College. So my main question is, and concerning what you just said, why these barriers remain? Why people still looking to sport performance in separate ways, biomechanics in one side, exercise, sport physiology, sport psychology, motor behavior, sport expertise, and not in a integrated fashion? I would like to hear a comment regarding this. What are these barriers and how can we break them?
Well, in fact, the CSS considers that they are integrating because they are multidisciplinary. So there's this problem, okay? So multidisciplinarity is not integrative at all.
Not at all.
However, yeah, this is these different languages between disciplines is not helping much. So in fact, there is a resistance towards something which is new, coming from physics. In fact, it was 30 years before these new branches of biology, which are now have all these interaction-based approaches, these molecular biology, cellular biology, all these omics, all these disciplines under the omics term, they are using this dynamic theory and the physics filtered there. But it took 30 years because biologists were saying, no, this is biology, this is physics, come on, please don't come to my... But nowadays, they realize that they are, for instance, in cancer studies, where there are very, very big investments. There are no more only oncologists researching about cancer. There are multidisciplinary teams where there are bioinformatics, where there is chemistry, where there are physicists, astrophysicists are delivering theories to understand better cancer. So this is happening now.
But they share a common language.
Yeah, I mean, physicists with chemistry, yes, bioinformatics start to share some common language, but not sports scientists.
Not at all.
Because sports scientists, first, there is the knowledge, well, the education is mostly based on theories which are based on simply very low, let's say from one discipline, another discipline, this author, this other author, or even theories from this coach, or so experiential knowledge. And when it is not experiential knowledge, when it is evidence-based, scientifically based knowledge, it is this type of knowledge based on physiology, which in fact is so much reductionist. So there is a competition, let's say, among these views. So, and then it takes time. It took to me some years simply forgetting what I was doing in research and not publishing so much, just learning all these principles, all these concepts, and so on. And this is not something that many people like to do, or many, let's say, sports scientists, because, well, we are publishing in our area, it's successful, so it goes. So this needs a lot of effort from particular effort. Investment
yes,
of time.
Indeed.
And well, this is slowly progressing. So I am very, let's say, optimistic about the future, Pedro.
You are always optimistic.
No, it will happen. It will happen.
That is for sure. I used to say to my students and to my colleagues in some discussions, this is all these complex systems, coordination dynamics, ecological dynamics is a branch of science of sports performance, which is brand new. It only has what about 20 years, 25 years, no more than this. If we look for the first word, the paper from Keith Davids from 1994, which maybe it is the starting point, it's really, really new. So exactly, you're right. We need time. But can you I move on to my second question. Some concepts that come from complex systems, such as self-organization, which are, well, difficult to show evidence. How can these kind of concepts can help us to understand and transform in a common language between exercise physiology and motor behavior and sport psychology? Can you give us a clue? How can these kind of concepts, which are very, very difficult to show evidence, we know it theoretically we can defend the existence of self-organization and emergency, but then to show evidence, and our beloved friend Scott Kelsey is quite critical regarding this issue.
Yes.
And
they are right. They are right. However, this is the beginning. It is important that slowly people become close to these ideas, and obviously they have not the same background, so they are not able to put this in equations and define it with such, and experiments are hard to be built, but there are. So it is not that there are not, it is possible to do it. But this will take time and very much effort. When you prepare a project and you submit a project, you are not evaluated as those fancy, trendy topics. So it is very demanding from our side. to go on into this direction. So I think this means a good cooperation that unfortunately sometimes there is not so much, because I mean, these egos and so on are not helping much sometimes. But what we need here is to cooperate and try to do better, and going on, because this is in fact one great possibility to go on in science. And when you work with other disciplines, you see that the self-organization, these stability, instability, criticality, phase transitions, and so on, these are the terms for understanding cancer now. So these are. So I have a lot of hope that sports science one day, of course, and I know that very good professionals now in the soccer, for instance, are on these ideas.
And we saw that when we organized the complex systems in Barcelona, we get almost 400 participants, which was great people that come to the Congress just to watch and to share some ideas. That's nice. I think Duarte has some kind of question, because when Duarte starts moving on a share, it's because you want to do some questions.
I'm not on the share. I'm standing up. I learned that speaking with movement is better. I have two types of questions, topics for discussion. One is, both you mentioned in your discussion. The first is this idea of commensurability. So the language that is used in physics is different from the language in biology, and it's different from the language in psychology, for example. For example, how can we relate the forces with the verbalizations of the participants? And I think the problem is that we tend to be stuck on these traditional ways of each discipline. And maybe from physics, from biology, and from psychology, we should change the way we put the problems. For example, not what are the forces I'm doing when I'm biomechanically moving, but how am I approaching or moving away from the goal that I want to achieve, from the target area I want to achieve. So these types of using our metabolic energy in relation to the circumstances allow us to create different variables that are necessarily linking disciplines and not isolated from the disciplines. Do you see this as a way of solving the problem of the common language?
I think the common language also demands a very good understanding of which is the main, which should be the main focus. What's in sport, which is a cooperative, competitive activity, as in this sense, very similar to life, which also it's about it. It is about the same. So surviving in life is surviving in a competition as well. So in this sense, I am very much, let's say, this paper of theory of cooperative competitive intelligence, understanding intelligence as this way to evade or escape this reduced functional diversity, which always opponents try to reduce on us to survive. And then I think from this main idea, go towards all these other principles, so these synergies, these stability, instability, phase transition, self-organization, and so on, which explain what's going on. And then going to particular or more concrete mechanisms to explain. We cannot just focus on biochemistry, or we cannot, in physiology, I mean, we cannot just focus on molecules. We can to explain what's happening in performance. This is nonsense. So we should go deep to ask the question in a very, very deep way. I have the chance to discuss a lot with Robert Christowski, which I think is someone, in sports science, is outstanding sports scientist in this sense, because he poses more and more and deeper questions. And then this helps a lot to realize, but what's the main point here? Yeah. And then I think that this is missed. So we are too much in theories from this author, this other author, this, that. And our students, in fact, learn a lot, have a lot of information, but this is not, more information is not better understanding. So I would like to include these topics or subjects in the education of coaches, of sport science students, etc., which integrates, able to integrate. And then I think that it would be much better, this critical thinking, to improve this critical thinking. Why, and then you see that there is no explanation after. It's, yes, explain me until the end why this is it like this, and connect with nature.
Yeah, yes, I think there is how can I say, contrasting trends at the same time. Because, for example, and I'm touching on the question that Pedro just raised, if you really want to understand, to show, not to understand, when we understand it, to show self-organization, we really need to understand the constraints that are exerting their influence, as we can see easily in physics or whatever it is. But if you just use the research that we have, which is a lot, the theories that we have, which is a lot, just to guide practice, then we sometimes are using metaphors more than evidence-based of how this happens, because we didn't test all the constraints. And in this sense, this creates a kind of contradictory tendencies. I don't think it's bad, because we live with many contradictory things at the same time. And I agree fully with you that we should try to view the things together in the coaching practices. So that is a highly relevant way of moving. But my second question is that related with this self-organization, these constraints, and your phrasing saying that we should think deeper about this, but the traditional, not your ways of thinking or Pedro, but the traditional ways of thinking deeper is more narrower, is going into the molecules, into the atoms, so that is not what you have in mind when you think deeper. I think when you think about deeper, it's to capture the phenomenon as it is. And I think in this case, physiology, psychology, and ecology should be together in understanding the phenomenon, because you cannot understand behavior just inside of the organism. So deep, it's in this sense of capturing how behavior happens. Is this what you mean by deep? Yeah.
Yes, of course, but this is like this at any level. So you can speak only at the proteins level, and it is like this. So there is self-organization, there are interactions, there are context dependence there. And all of this is becoming more and more evident, these epigenetics and so on. So yes, the context is there, we cannot avoid. And we cannot avoid, and this is nice for the network physiology of exercise, we cannot avoid that all those levels interact among them, are nested. So there are nested networks, okay? And these nested networks, this vertical interaction is very important. We cannot make jumps. What's happening at this level of these molecules? So this explains what happens at this level of performance. And no. So these jumps should be avoided, but a better understanding. So I think that the first step is better understanding. So understanding theoretically all these concepts, and realizing which are all these constraints, how this is interacting, and so on, to pose good questions. I think we should not be so much focused on the practice. Because, well, in fact, when we are providing a better understanding for a professional, you are affecting directly the practice. But then in the practice, what will happen? It may happen whatever. I mean, we are too much focused on methodologies. Forget methodologies. It depends on the context. The context is never the same. So what needs a good coach, a good sports science student, is a good understanding. And then when they go to the practice, then they apply it in many ways. This can be useful. So even the more analytic exercises or gyms or whatever can be very complex and very useful in one context. So I think we have too much, we are too much focused on methodologies and on providing receipts for coaches. No, coaches do not need receipts. Coaches need understanding. And then they should, with good criteria, understanding, adapting to their own context, changing context, adapt methodologies, whatever. So we should believe more on the that we work with intelligent people. So coaches are very intelligent, have a lot of experience, and then they intuitively find, if they find good explanations for what they see intuitively, this will reinforce their intuitions. This will somehow improve them. And I think this is enough. This is already improving the practice.
Yeah. And
well, I don't know if I explained.
Don't you think that also practice can bring new insights into theory and into the research?
Yeah. Yes, of course. More and become more aware, no? Better understanding of what's going on in the practice with different glasses. You know, it's very important to change the glasses of the coaches, and then they learn a lot. So
yeah.
But
my point is also vice versa, saying that there are some practices of coaches that can tell us a lot about how we can address that from the theoretical point of view. So the practice is also changing theory. It's not just a top-down process from theory to practice, but also the other way around, in a more circular causality, if you want. Do you think that is possible?
Yeah, I think that we should. We should be less focused on linking theory and practice, simply because when you do a good theory, this is very, very practical. So when you understand better, you are affecting very much the practice. So, and then also that there are theories, so you cannot explain, this is a way to, we cannot explain behavioral problems through microscopic processes. So then theories of that are useful for understanding electrophysiology, etc., you know, cannot help us to understand decision making. Of course, there are electrophysiological mechanisms behind decisions, but you cannot explain them. So you need theories at the appropriate level. At every level, you need good theories that able to explain, and theories that do not go in contradiction with other theories. So that at any level they are useful. So we are with a very, I mean, in this moment, I would say it is a theory which it's very, very general. It's applied to many disciplines, to many phenomena. It's useful for all of this. So it cannot be compared to any theory, very local. This is for, say, this psychology or this process in this and that. Well, we are not dealing with the same type of theory. I would say it's much more explanatory in this sense. Well, this is my impression.
No, and you took a very interesting point, because one of these days I was talking with Renaud Boetsma, and it told me exactly the same. We are too focused in solving problems. We do not aim to solve problems. We aim to understand the problems and let the coaches solve them. Yes. And exactly, I remember do you remember the title of the congress in Barcelona, linking theories with practice?
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Well, it's not anymore. It's an excuse, but I understand also why some also say this is methodology of complex systems. So, what are you? You know, this is what you apply, and it is successful, and you apply it this way, probably because of the context. So in this context, where many of the players or many other are thinking in a much more reductionist way. So you cannot find other solution, that make kind of hybrid there. So sometimes when someone criticizes, say, yes, but they are also doing this gym or whatever. Yes, of course. If one believes, if I am in the gym, I am stronger, I will be performing better, and so on, go to the gym, that's it. However, my idea can be that when you train, technical, tactical, etc., you are training also physical conditions. So maybe it's not so necessary, and you do it in a correlated way. So maybe you create some imbalances when working all these different physical condition dimensions separately. So you can think on that, but then in the practice, how you do? Okay, in the practice, I adapt to the context.
Yeah, exactly. And there is several ways to achieve the same outcome.
I think there is here two different things. Let me spice a little bit the discussion, because I'm profoundly fond of practice, and I think reality is always more powerful than theories and models. Models are always simplifications of the reality. So I think if you want to see what is going on, reality is the best way of demonstrating what we think, what are our ideas. So I think in this sense, practice is very powerful in informing theory. And in this way, theory should not be disconnected with reality. This is one thing. The other thing, which I absolutely agree with you both, is that this is not the same as telling the coaches what to do. That is a very different thing. So the coach solving his own problems according to his own ideas, I think our approach to sports really say that we should empower the coach for solving these problems. This is one thing. But the other thing is that we should always be in direct contact with reality in order to have theories that accommodate reality, not a theory that only supports itself.
Yeah, but you look reality with some glasses. This is a problem. You don't perceive reality. You perceive reality according your beliefs, according your, so your theories. And then to change this is very hard, but it is the way to evolve for a coach.
That's why the practice do not need to be my practice, but the other practice is what the others are doing, how they are dealing with reality. We can, when we talk about observations, they go much beyond our own observations, the observations that can be shared. And those are about reality, how humans deal with reality. And of course, we can never get rid of being humans. So we always look at things as humans look at the things. But I think this is the way we can have a better improvement of reality. This is the way how we can discover that Newtonian mechanics was simplistic in dealing with some problems, because in reality there was more than that. This is to say that I understand your point, but there are two levels here. One is what the coaches can do, and I fully agree that we should not go into a logic of receipts. The other is, I think reality is quite important for theory. But this is just a compliment to enhance our discussion.
Natàlia, I think we have a question here from the chat. One of the participants, which is here, Tiago André Rigon. And basically he asked, based on a complex systems theory, how to integrate the physical conditioners with physiologist intervention to the coach intervention?
I would, if you ask my opinion, I wouldn't make these fragmentations anymore. We are fragmenting all the time. We are not just fragmenting in physiology the systems. We are fragmenting performance in dimensions. We are fragmenting sport for formation or ages according to the ages, elite, prevention, performance training. All the time we are doing this. And then I wonder why. I mean, then my question would be, we are not developing physical condition when we are playing the game or competing, or when we are training any tactical or whatever, let's call it technical, tactical. I I mean, this physical condition, why to separate from the rest? If it is always integrated, when you compete, it's never separated. So why to separate it? Why the need to separate this? I mean, maybe if one believes that this separating goes better, then it's the belief, and many share this belief because we learned all that physical condition, there is a physical trainer in these stuffs, no? Physical trainer. So this is a need because all professional soccer clubs have this. However, why? Why? Who is asking why? Explain me, give me a good reason why you like to train this separately. So this means in an uncorrelated way with other processes, so of coordination. So this separately, well, this can produce problems of coordination, in my opinion. I mean, problems of, yes, more problems of injuries, because you produce their imbalances in your body. So you are not harmoniously integrating all components, all processes at the different levels and so on. So when you train, when you constrain the team with changes in this or that, whatever, this produces changes in every player at the same time. So, and this constrains also all these levels down, and also these metabolic levels, so this aerobic, anaerobic, and so on, is constrained by this exercise you practice at the level of the team. So if we are in front of a team sport, why to make this fragmentation? I cannot understand it.
Yeah.
Really.
However, if all the members of a staff spoke the same or share a common language, and we get back to the beginning of our chat, if all all the members share the same common language, that process, that all this process become easier. And I think that we need to move towards that direction.
Yeah.
Yes, but many coaches do it because the club imposes, this is the physical trainer, so let's give him something to do.
Let's hire him.
Yeah.
But well, is it necessary? The question is that, would it? Maybe not so much.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting, and I know that you have a good influence into the soccer coaches, for example, from Barcelona and all that. Maybe a good way of finalizing our sessions, it's the time flies here, as we discussed before, is what are key messages that for you are important to convey to coaches to understand things in the way you are explaining? Can you tell us some important reflections you think coaches should do?
For instance, and go back to this first deep question that speaks about this functional diversity potential. If a team has a higher functional diversity potential that the other team has more probabilities to win. This does not mean this team is stronger or more endured or this or that. I mean, this can be compensated by many dimensions. Diversity means I am more diverse. I can be diverse through being stronger, faster, yes, but this is not the only way of becoming more diverse. So this is the point. So it is diverse, focusing on the main points. In nature, the species that survive better are not the stronger, are not the faster, are the more diverse, the ones who adapt to varied contexts, have survived during billions of years in Earth and are still here, while others that were very strong, I mean, the T-Rex is very strong, it was very strong and was extinct, okay? So instead to focus so much on strength, of course, there is strength in all our movements, but we develop strength when we move. So I would say to go to the main points, to the main questions. And then in this sense, it is clear that players without the orthodox characteristics in one position, in another position, can compensate through other dimensions and can become the best of the world. Wow. And many of those players have been told sometimes in their lives, you will never be a professional player because you're this or that, or please forget about this. I mean, because it is how much diverse you are, and we should measure that, and we should do research on that, and we can do it, and this can change a bit the scenario. I mean, but slowly, obviously, because these changes are slow.
Natàlia, I think this is a very wonderful message to close our session. We thank you very much for your participation. It's very insightful as always, and it's good that we have so many things that came out from what you just said. Thank you very much. I will ask Pedro if you'd like to link to the Congress.
Yeah, first of all, just to thank Natàlia. It was very nice chat. Always nice to talk with you. Thank you so much for this moment. Yeah, just a last question, because the time for the Congress, for the Sports Science Congress, is decreasing. It is within 1 week, more or less, that we will start. So far, we have more than 100 participants, which is nice, and I hope that you can all join us, because we still have the inscriptions still open. And this is just now for the Portuguese coaches. We knew now that the Portuguese Institute of Sports can provide 4.4 units of credit for the coach's career. So this is a very nice way to update your knowledge, and we're looking forward to receive you in the 13th of July. Natàlia, thank you once again.
Thank you very much for providing this opportunity. I'm sorry for all these problems.
No worries.
Nobody noticed. We are adaptable.
Nobody noticed.
We are the species who will survive.
We should. Come on.
Well, I would like just to finish by saying that we are also closing this series of Ecological Dynamics of Skill. So it was really nice to close with Natàlia, who is a pioneer in this field. We will give more news about this in September. So stay tuned until September. And meanwhile, please take a look at our previous sessions. There was 9 very rich sessions, including this one. And if you have ideas, if you have suggestions, please interact with us. You can do it in the YouTube link, but you also can contact us directly, and in order that we can have even more sharp sessions in the future. Thank you all very much, and stay tuned.